to no surprise, Joe Rogan has that underdog bias. To no surprise, Joe Rogan biasly scores a fight in favor of the fighter that he is rooting for. Joe Rogan, the guy who's known for biased commentary, and I've tried to defend Joe multiple times before, but this is no surprise. Joe Rogan says Alexander Volkanovski was robbed point blank. He was so sure that Volk had it in the bag before the official verdict. He said, Volkanovski is the double champ, 100%. He won that fight. And then was in complete, utter shock when it went to Islam Makhachev. And then, of course, went on to complain after the fight, acting like it was just a BS decision, like it wasn't fair. This is the guy who was biased for Brandon Moreno. In 3-4 of the Figgy Moreno fights, I mean, he didn't commentate the one that was in Brazil because he never commentates internationally. But each time they were in America, from Vegas to Arizona to LA, Joe Rogan was biased in favor of Brandon Moreno in those fights. Joe Rogan biasly commentating in favor of Israel Adesanya against Jan Blachowicz. He wasn't an underdog, but Izzy's the big superstar that he wants to see as double champ. Joe Rogan, the guy who's known for being biased, do we really take this man's opinion seriously? I mean, you see a fight like that, Makhachev versus Volkanovski, right? Look, I was rooting for Islam very hard in that fight. I wanted Volk to lose. I wanted Islam to stay the champion and stay on top, to continue his reign of terror over the lightweight division. But even for a guy who was team Makhachev, before the official decision was, declared, even I wasn't super sure. I thought that Islam won, but you didn't see me just point blank assuming that, yeah, he's like, throughout the fight, I wasn't like, yeah, Islam's winning and he's going to win when it goes the distance. The whole fight, I was stressing and I'm like, I don't know. He could have lost that round because he may have got the takedown, but Volk may have done more in terms of damage. So is he really winning? And plus, it's in Australia. Volk's the Australian. He might have, a home crowd advantage with the judges. That's very possible. So when you've got a fight like that, how can you be so sure that the guy you're rooting for or you pick to win has it in the bag? Each round, apart from round 5 for Volk and round 4 for Islam, the first 3 were very dicey and up in the air. But the last round, Volk clearly won. Yes. Round 4, Islam clearly won. Absolutely. But of the first 3 rounds, how can you look at that and be like 100% Volkanovski has it won or Islam has it won? Round 1 was very close. I edged it to Makhachev based off the last minute takedown being on Volkanovski's back. And he kind of stunned him before that moment as well. So he rocked Volkanovski. Okay? He didn't just take him down. And then round 2, he got kind of dropped, but he got up, got some control with the grappling, and then he started stunning Volk towards the end of the round as well. So Volk had moments where you could say he won that round, but there's moments Makhachev had where you could say, yeah, well, maybe Makhachev had the first 2 rounds. I gave round 3 to Volkanovski, actually, but just barely. But when you have a close fight like that, in a championship fight, where usually the judges are always going to be biased in favor of the champion, and a fight is that close, how can you be so sure that, how can you be so sure of how the decision's going to go? You know what I mean? There's no way of knowing until the official verdict. And to beat the champ, or to be the champ, you really got to beat the champ. I do think that is kind of stupid, but that has sort of been the protocol throughout the years in championship fight history, But again, this is the same man who is biased. Biased for John Jones. Every close fight that John Bones Jones has had, Joe has defended John Jones on these close fights. Tried making cases for fights he could have lost, saying, well, he won. And of course, he's only saying that because John Jones is a fan favorite and he likes John Jones. Of course, he wanted Volkanovski to win because Volkanovski is now becoming a fan favorite. He wasn't before. People love Volk now. People love the idea of him shocking the world and, becoming a double champion. I mean, who doesn't love an underdog story? I mean, that would have been cool if Alexander Volkanovski, that would have been amazing if Volkanovski beat Islam and became a champ. But it didn't happen. I mean, he gave a great performance. It could have gone to Volkanovski, but he arguably didn't do enough. And like Volk said, he maybe could have done more. There were openings he didn't capitalize on, and that is his fault. He has no one to blame but himself, not the judges. Like Juliana Pena says, you leave it in the hands of the judges, they'll make you cry. And that's what we saw. And isn't it funny that come full circle? I mean, Volkanovski has a close fight with Holloway 3 years ago. A fight that I thought he lost. Many people thought he lost. Volk fans were crapping on Holloway fans for complaining. It was always the Max fans who were so bad and toxic. But now 3 years later, Volk fans got a taste of their own medicine. Now they know what it's like. They know what it's like to see their boy lose a close decision. And you just love to see it, man. I love how the sport has a way of making a circle, how the universe has a way of making a circle. And even though I wanted Islam to win decisively and dominantly and brutally, I'm not a Volkanovski hater anymore, at least. But I'm happy that it happened this way, mainly because of the Volk fan base. Now they have to look themselves in the mirror and see how toxic they are. I mean, they're toxic towards Islam. They're hating Islam because he's Dagestani and he beat their boy Volkanovski. It's just funny how all of that came together, how that all worked out. But yeah, Joe Rogan, he's got no room to talk, man. I mean, he's known for a bunch of biased takes, so for him to disrespect Islam like that and act like he just didn't win and act like he got dominated, watch the fight again, please. And then you got Brandon Schaub, who's like Joe Rogan's yes man, a little cheerleader. Of course he's agreeing, saying there's just no way that Volkanovski lost that fight. Like, Joe, for a guy who's supposed to be a professional, he's not looking at this from an objective standpoint. I mean, if Joe said, I thought Volk won, but it wasn't a bad decision, I can see why they gave it to Islam, I wouldn't be making this video. I would respect his opinion. But to disrespect Islam and say it was a point-blank robbery and to just be so sure before the decision was read out that, yeah, Volk had it won, there's no way Islam won, then that's where Joe needs to be questioned and he needs to be criticized. But, he's been doing this for a long time. I still think he has the passion, but at the same time, he's just kind of in it for the paycheck. So Joe definitely isn't the best commentator around. He's just there for the hype. So you got to take his opinions with a grain of salt. They're not as valuable as like maybe a John Anik or, a Dominic Cruz, the real professionals at commentating, Joe just ain't it anymore, at least. But you know what? I'll give Joe Rogan the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was high, like he always gets high in the GRE studio, and it's the heat of the moment. You're watching the fight. And sometimes when you watch the fight live, you have a different perspective. Maybe if Joe goes back and he watches the fight again, he might still carry the same opinion, but it might be a little bit different. Like, even if he still thinks Volk won, he might see why Islam won, why the decision was in his favor. And he might change the robbery tone, at least I hope. But if he goes back and watches and still acts like it was just a robbery and Islam just didn't deserve to win in any way, shape, or form, then yeah, Joe Rogan, I mean, that's disappointing. I don't want to call him an idiot because I do like Joe Rogan. And I don't want him to go. I love him as a commentator because of the hype he brings. I grew up listening to him. But yeah, he just ain't it. If he's just going to go back and watch again and still disrespect Islam like that, then I am truly disappointed in Joe Rogan. He has no idea what the heck he's talking about. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and tune in for the next one.